Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Golden Shovel podcast brought to you by the team here at the Nerd Fandemic. We are back here with episode 4, and it is our first non-scheduled special edition podcast where we predict the outcome of all 5 currently scheduled matches for the Backlash PLE this Saturday in St. Louis, Missouri. Yes, there's been some cool stories coming out of NXT this week and some even cooler stories from the dirt sheets, but we are saving them for our usually scheduled podcast recording on Tuesday night. Tonight, we are back at a full complement. I am once again joined by Ross.
How we doing, folks? I'll be cold and dead in the ground before I recognise Missouri.
And once again, Darren has returned from his jollies.
Happy to be back.
Right, this is our first official TNF Golden Shovel prediction show. We appreciate the engagement that we've had from 2 people on TikTok after completely forgetting to ask before this afternoon. And the last thing I'm going to mention in our opening segment here is we will be going live on Saturday night. The intention is that Daz will be live on TikTok, and I will hopefully hold the fort down here on YouTube and do a bit of co-streaming. And we'd love for you guys to get involved and join us. Without any further time wasting, 5 matches scheduled. We've split these up amongst the team, all given to the guys with the most interest. And we're going to kick off with Daz taking us through our thoughts on the match I personally am most looking forward to, Penta versus Dominic Mysterio.
Yes, I think it's going to be somewhat of an instant classic. I think we're going to see the best of Dom. I think we're finally going to get a chance to watch Dom actually wrestle. I think it's going to be excellent. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing him. He's going to go over really strong as IC champ. I've seen some chat online, some rumours that he's going to fall victim to the IC title. He's going to be another one that loses it in his first defence. Kind of similar to Jay. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to take the title off him that quickly. They're clearly building to Styles and Balor being the reason that he drops the title. So I think to have him drop it on Saturday's not going to happen. I'm really looking forward to seeing him excel. The finish, I don't think, can be clean. Only because Penta won't be pinned clean by Dom. It's too early for that to happen, because I've gave him the golden shovel already. And we're only 4 episodes in, but we would really be burying Penta and all of his momentum if you put him on a PLE card in his first 1v1 on a PLE and he loses clean. I don't think it'll be Balor. I don't think he'll be the reason. I think it'll be JD, as I said, not this week, the week before. JD will be the wedge that drives Finn into AJ. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be match of the night in terms of technical ability. I think it's going to be minimum 4 stars. And as always, fuck Dave Meltzer. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to that match. I hope it opens the show, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really
Ross?
good way to actually open the show. You know, I think it could be a good match. I am like you in that I'm a little bit scared that they might just bury him. Like the guy was doing reasonably well. It would be a real shame if they do. I think we all are maybe in agreement. Well, I'm not going to be too presumptuous, but I think we're all in agreement that Dom is walking away with the title again, because it just doesn't seem right to take it off of him at this stage, I would say, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that it doesn't completely destroy Penta's credibility. But I am looking forward to it, and I think that you're right. I think that would be a really, really good way to actually open the card with a bang.
I'm in complete agreement. This match has to open the show because it's certainly not going to close it. That's going to go to Cena Orton. We know that. Ross, you and I discussed at length on Tuesday's podcast the fact that this feels like a show where all 5 matches could do without clean finishes. I think Penta needs this more than Dom needs it. I think we've discussed that at length the last 3 weeks. Daz is continually giving him the golden shovel. He was booked like a mega star, and the new music in Monday, to me, just elevates him again, because I just think that's absolutely phenomenal with that guitar riff. But the introduction of AJ Styles this week means that it's not going to end Dom's run just now. I think if they'd held that off till this week, then I might have been swayed out elsewhere.
Yeah,
I'd like to go against this and give us something to talk about on Saturday night and next week's podcast. But for me, this is 3-0. Dom walks away with the title. We won't see the Finn Balor turn on Dom just yet, but it's coming. 3-0.
Yep.
Dom retains. Hopefully Penta looks strong, but no doubt he's picking up the golden shovel next Tuesday.
potentially. And we'll leave that one to Daz to give him it. Keep it nice and
and
Aye,
Daz
we
will
could-
give him that, let me tell you.
Aye. The second match on our schedule for this evening is the absolute chaos that is the SmackDown United States men's title picture. Ross, you've been loving this the last few weeks. Give us your thoughts and overview of what's happening heading into this weekend.
Yeah, I think this has been one of the most watchable chaoses I think we've had. So, leading up to it, obviously McIntyre wins by DQ against LA Knight. Priest then comes in, attacks him, and all just goes well. All four of you just get in a ring and just have some more chaos. And I think this is probably going to be that. It feels like to me that we've spoken about it a little bit, where this is one of these filler feuds and this might spawn off a couple of other things, but ultimately at the end of the day, it does feel like maybe it's not right as well for Fatu to drop this now, because he's doing well with it. Title's feeling good. The picture, as we've seen the last few weeks, even though it is just chaos, it's filler, but it's nice. It's decent to watch. I'm going to go Fatu retains, purely because I think that the conversation we've been having around guys like McIntyre are destined for bigger things. Doesn't really need this belt. Priest, maybe. LA Knight doesn't need a belt either. He's nice and red hot. But yeah, for me, I think Fatu's walking up, standing tall.
To me, this is the most straightforward match of the night. Surprisingly, it's Jacob Fatu is on that path to absolute superstardom. He has looked like an absolute monster, and he's run so far. The excitement around him from his Major League Wrestling days before he came to the E was palpable. He's an absolute freight train in the ring. He's an absolute freight train in his momentum towards the main event path. We discussed on Tuesday our worry that Solo's been lost in this shuffle. I think ultimately it's Solo versus Jacob at SummerSlam, or maybe after SummerSlam if we get the turn.
Yeah.
At SummerSlam itself. Drew doesn't need it. LA Knight doesn't need it. Damien Priest doesn't need it. It's Jacob Fatu's walking out. My assumption would be that LA Knight will probably eat the pin, but it's here and there. I'm 100% agreement. Fatu's walking out. Does
Short and sweet. Fatu pins LA Knight. There is no other way around about it. The other two guys aren't going to take the pin. They're not going to derail Fatu. He is a massive draw. That's just the way it is. I do like the idea of Solo and Fatu in the future. I think the belt elevates that feud. Otherwise, it just feels like you're back in 2021 and we're just resetting for Bloodline all over again. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think, Ross, you're right. I think it will be absolute chaos. Two big guys, Fatu himself, and then LA Knight is probably just going to get thrown about like a tracksuit, to be honest, in this match, because he's the only guy who's not got the weight. I'm looking forward to it. I think it will be good. It's probably going to be middle of the card. It might get the longest run time out of the matches, to be honest. It probably will go the longest, so middle of the card it fits for me. But again, another 3-0. Fatu retains. Pretty straightforward booking for me.
I do wonder if there's even a slight possibility, because they've teased it a little bit around Solo. We've said he looks like the odd man out. They've even teased one or two things that at some point that relationship's going to go its separate ways. It does feel too early, but I do wonder if there's that ever so small chance that maybe we'll see some conflict.
the chance is there, because there's an opportunity for Jacob Fatu, with the reaction he's been getting, to drop the title and not end up looking weak. If that was to happen, the only person I see can get over would be Priest, purely because I firmly believe McIntyre's heading into a feud in the main event at some point, possibly even moving to Raw. And LA Knight's just had 2 title runs with it, so there's a chance, but nah, not at this pay-per-view.
I think that storyline probably Yeah, I think that storyline probably starts to break down when you reintroduce Tangaloa and
Yeah.
forgive
Mother
me, one
Carell.
of the many other Samoans that seems to
Tama.
have escaped my brain. Yes, yes.
These guys are Tongan, no Samoan. As Kevin Owens continually points out, they're not all related.
Yeah, yes,
Despite being the
absolutely.
bloodline.
Yes, I think that will be when it starts to break down. But I suppose that storyline does open the door to the small chance that Fatu does drop the title. We spoke it might not be any clean finishes, so the chances of Dom and Fatu getting screwed at the two mid card titles is unlikely, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah. If you guys have access to the appropriate betting markets, this is where you'd sit your money on the Spanish announce table being broken in half. I believe Paddy Power still offer odds on that if you're in the UK and Ireland.
But
This
gamble
is the
responsibly, of course.
gamble responsibly, of course.
100 to 1 on.
This
Yes.
is the mid part of the show where once again I plug the rest of our socials. As much as we are trying to engage everyone across Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube, our primary sources are YouTube and TikTok. So get across there, join us at the Nerd Fandemic. Leave us some comments. We'll always like to react to what you guys are asking, what you guys are saying, and any suggestions and topics we can discuss on our weekly podcast, or anything you want us to do a special episode on between scheduled episodes. We will gladly take them on board. So at the Nerd Fandemic in the usual places. Becky versus Lyra, match number 3 on our programme this evening. It's with myself to deliver the overall picture. I have actually thoroughly been enjoying this feud, and I've thoroughly enjoyed a lot of the women's feuds apart from the women's US title, which we've been discussing at length the last 2 weeks. This is a perfect example of the veteran getting in a position to elevate the up-and-comer. Very, very similar to Becky's return to NXT 2 years ago when she helped push Lyra and Tiffy up a level towards superstardom. I was 100% sold on Becky taking this title leading into this week because I feel as though she would come in, take the title, have her back and forward with Lyra, drop it in a month or two's time, pushes it Lyra to the next stage, and Becky probably takes more time off or moves on to a program with Bayley. I'm really hopeful this doesn't have Bayley's return. I don't want Lyra to look weak at all. I am worried that we'll have 3 or 4 out of 5 matches with interference and or screwy finishes. I'm going to go with a really bold prediction, and I've changed my mind since Tuesday. Because of how well she's came across on the mic, I have Lyra retaining this week. I was completely sold. And if you listen to the last 2 weeks, I had Becky taking the title to do the long-term elevation of Lyra from mid-card to top tier. I think Lyra has shown that she's at that level already. I'm not saying that there's not a path to dropping it in the future to somebody like Becky, and maybe it's a 3-match series, but I think Lyra retains this weekend. Daz?
I don't disagree. I don't think she'll pin Becky. My guts on this is this ends in no contest. Is my guts.
That's why I've explicitly said Lyra retains. I want that clear on the record. Retains.
Yeah, I don't think Becky's going to take the pin. It's too early in this because if she takes the pin, that it's hard to book her against Bayley after that. I think that this has been a really interesting feud for me. I really don't like what Becky brings to Raw, but I've actually really enjoyed her off show work on podcasts and on other shows. I think she's been really, really good, and I think it's because she gets a chance to work a wee bit more off script. She's spoken a lot about Bayley this week in the build up to this, which makes me think this is going to be another potentially screwy finish. I think it's too soon to have Bayley come back, I'll be honest. A double bluff, maybe. I know. A double bluff, maybe with the music or something like that. But I see it ending in a no contest, whether or not it's interference. I don't even know who it could be. Although I did see tonight that Naomi did put out a tweet tagging The Rock, Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, etc., asking where her rub of the green is and all this stuff. So who knows? Honestly, who knows how this match is going to end? But I agree. I don't think they're going to take the title off Lyra. I think that might have been the original plan.
Yeah.
I think she's been so strong in the last few weeks that I think she might just get to hang on to it.
Before I come to you, Ross, just to reiterate a point that Daz made, we at the Nerds Fan Time are ahead of the times. We have Naomi going to Raw as a champion this year. We think that's a good move for her. We also discussed at length on Tuesday, Braun Strowman should be available for the WWE semi-regularly for specific stories to help elevate future monsters, and that seems to be the dirt sheet. So we are ahead of plan here. We've got our finger on the pulse of what's happening in WWE at all times. Ross, quickly, Becky Lyra.
I'm going to say first off, editor Craig. I want to see if Becky's doing podcasts, make it happen.
Is she available?
I think we would absolutely have her on. No, I think you're right. I think that this is going to be a tricky one, but I am going to go slightly bold in that I think that Lyra will win clean. And it is purely because as someone who hasn't been familiar with her game, she's got game. And I think that Becky can, I think that there is a danger that Becky could eat a pin and not be able to then continue on in a program with Bayley. But I don't know, I've just got this feeling in the back of my head that she's winning this and she's winning it fair and square. So that is what I'm going to go for.
I genuinely thought that by picking Lyra, I was going bold and we would have a 2-1 situation. I'm disappointed.
We do have a 2-1.
We've got
a 2-1, but it's just that we don't think that she's going to win it clean.
We've got 3-0, 3-0, 3-0 for the current champions retaining so far. Which, okay, is it a glorified house show or is it just?
Saturday night main event.
Is there more to the story?
We will get to the last one, and I think we may have some differing opinions.
Potentially the most intriguing, that's not the best, most intriguing story, because there's a hell of a lot of dirt sheet rumour. There is, as been discussed, some Brock Lesnar matches have reappeared on WWE YouTube and WWE website in the last few days. Daz, Pat versus Gunther. What you got for us?
Poor Pat McAfee. I think we're going to get I could probably script the entire match right now for you. Pat attacks Gunther during his entrance, gets a good 2 minutes in where Gunther's a little bit wobbly. Pat gets through an announce table, potentially too. Gets beaten to a bloody pulp, and then someone's music hits. Who would I prefer? Would I prefer Bill Goldberg? Absolutely not. Lesnar, but why would I want to see? I mean, Lesnar and Gunther on a card sounds fantastic. Why they would bring him back into the business in the midst of everything that's happening would be absolute insanity, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Although I do find it odd that these videos are resurfacing. That I think maybe for a little bit further down the line, maybe looking towards a SummerSlam Survivor Series-ish type thing? Is it planting the seed for a little bit further down the line? Do they maybe know a bit more about when things might have an end date, potentially, and that stuff? So I do think Pat's going to take a bit of a beating. Although, having said that, looking at the online reaction, there seems to be a lot of belief that Pat's actually going to win this.
Surely not.
Not clean, of course. He's not going to beat him clean. My personal preference would be Ilya. That would be my preference. Would be Ilya Dragunov. I think to watch these two guys go toe to toe on a big stage would be fantastic because their programs together in NXT were just unreal. So please not Bill Goldberg. I would like to see Lesnar, but it's just not time for Lesnar to come back. Give us Ilya Dragunov, please. And maybe that's why he tapped the way he did at WrestleMania. Maybe that was a bit of foreshadowing to bringing Ilya back. So, yeah, Gunther for me.
Yeah.
Roscoe?
I think I'm in the same boat as you, that you could probably write this 5, 6, 7 minute long match like on a post-it note, and you're probably going to be within like 90% of how it's going to go. Yeah, it has to be Gunther. Has to look strong. Can't lose to a commentator as much as, it's a commentator who who can hang. You know, he can take a bump. He can do bits and bobs. I'm like you, no Goldberg, and it's fine. It just has to be something that sets up something else, because if this is it and then it just stops and we just continue on as if it never happened, I have absolutely no idea what the thinking is, and there may be a golden shovel to get chucked around in the following episode. But yeah, Gunther, 100%.
Yep.
I'm going to go against the grain.
Oh.
I just no, I can't. I want to turn around and say that the interference is going to happen during the match, and even though Pat will get the win, it's a complete setup, and we're awarding Gunther the golden shovel next week. But I can't, because that would be the end of Gunther as a main event talent.
Yeah, it would be.
After spending 3-4 years, like he's literally been built up from NXT UK to absolute perfection, even to the point where the Intercontinental title run didn't go stale after 600 days. It was like it was the best title run apart from Roman Reigns, and potentially in the 25 years I've been watching professional wrestling. The match goes 6-7 minutes. Gunther has to absolutely kill him, and I'm talking. Pat needs to bleed, and Pat needs to be choked out, and I mean carried out in a stretcher.
Yeah,
it has to happen. We've lost that monster, that killer that is Gunther. So 5-6 minutes, and Pat McAfee's written off until after the college football playoff in January next year. That's the type of beating this needs to be. If it's anything less than that, even if Gunther wins, if it's less than that and Pat looks strong, golden shovel goes to Gunther this week and saves Penta for another week.
A lot of consensus here so far.
Before we go into the final match, we will voice our confusion as to where Jey Uso and Logan Paul are this weekend.
Yeah.
And also point out that we are still potentially expecting SmackDown WWE Women's Championship match, assuming the number one contenders match is concluded appropriately on Friday night, or in about 6 or 7 hours, depending on when you guys are watching this. We'll leave that off the card at the moment. We'll stick it on TikTok if we need to add additional reaction. But now we need to get to the main event, where we have discussed this at length. We have actively avoided talking about it since Monday night because we need to save it for this discussion. Ross, if you can, a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And then Daz and I'll chime in.
This has been so intriguing for originally the wrong reasons, and then, my God, the right reasons. The promos have been superb. The feud is a feud that we've all wanted to see. The earlier on this week action does make us think that this is going to be installment 1 of at least 2. Some of the noises and whispers that are coming out would suggest that there are some other feuds planned for Cena from like SummerSlam onwards. And for me, based on what I've seen, based on what I've heard, I think that we are going to get a 15-time world champion crowned at Backlash, and I think Randy Orton is standing tall with that title. And I don't know how.
And I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off there and bringing Daz in because he's just put his head in his hands. Daz, quick, have you got an immediate rebuttal before Ross continues?
Yes, absolutely. It would be the worst booking decision in history to take the title off John Cena. His historic 17th title. All of his heel work till now is ruining wrestling. To bury him when he's got 7 months left of his final year would be insane booking, in my opinion. I can't see how Randy. I just can't see how they book that. And if he loses to Randy, because let's face it, out of the guys he's likely to face, Randy's probably one that's closest to being put out to pasture for these guys.
True.
He's probably the guy at the back of the queue to win the title. It's more likely to be Punk or Rollins or a fresh talent that's coming through. So I think if they drop it to... I just can't see it. I mean, unfortunately, we're going to hear Fane again, most likely. And Travis Scott's going to appear. But I just cannot see in any way, shape, or form that Randy takes that title. They've booked it so that Randy can take the loss in his hometown so that he doesn't look weak. That's why they've booked it. now. They will book it again in the future. I do agree. We spoke about it in week 1 when this feud first became a thing, that it was too early. They were getting such a short build up. We agreed it was too early, and I know you guys touched on it in this week's pod. They are going to book it again later in the year, which I am very excited about. I think that might be the time where Randy could become a 15-time champion. I think that's the guy that retires him, if I'm honest. But yeah, this Saturday, I just can't see Cena losing the historic 17th title at fucking Backlash. I just can't see it.
Now,
Ross, do you
A
want to finish?
glorified
Do you want to
house
finish
show.
your? Do you want to finish your
most
spiel?
of what
And I'll
Daz
do my
said
prediction.
is kind of where my head was at until I saw the last episode, and it just made me think something's changed. There's a slight tonal shift. There is the legend killer hints that Saunders had picked up upon. There is the changing of the framing from last time to potentially last time. I don't know. It just feels like the rest of the card feels very, other than obviously we have some question marks over Lyra and Becky, but 3 of the 5 matches seem super obvious, and there has to be somewhere where, well, at least in my head, if you're booking something for people to watch, there has to be something where you go, oh, that was a surprise. Why not do it here?
I'm going to cut us and say we can keep this conversation going during the live, because we could talk about this for 3 hours leading up to the main event on Saturday night.
Yep.
Every fibre of my body wants to turn around and say we will see a 15-time champion in Randy Orton on Saturday night, because he's just gripped me. The legend killer, that's gripped me and I totally agree with you, Ross. It's his hometown. If anyone deserves it, it's Randy Orton. And, what better way than John Cena rocking up halfway through Logan Paul versus Jey Uso and just causing chaos and, elevating that title again and having an 18-time champion. They're not going to do that. Randy Orton's winning the match on Saturday night. Cena's retaining, is my prediction. It might be so obvious that Cena's going to slap the referee in the face, but that doesn't make it a bad thing. It's going to get the crowd reaction.
This is true.
I agree with what you've said, Ross. We're basically, for 4 out of the 5 matches, we're all in agreement, and we're probably in disagreement about this match, just so we're not 5 whitewashes. But if anything that we've learned from the last few years, particularly these mid-year, smaller B-tier PLEs,
as nothing fucking happens.
Paul Levesque does not take the title, does not move titles. We've seen it in the European shows. We've seen it at Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, 65,000 people, and nothing really happened. So if this was 2-3 years ago, I'd be going, no, something has to change, and I would just pick a match at random and say that's the title change. The fact I'm predicting four titles staying where they are isn't what I want to do, but it is. There's a world in which Cena doesn't hold this title to SummerSlam, a world in which doesn't hold it at the end of the year. He's not holding it for 3 weeks. If Backlash was 2 weeks later, maybe we'll have a conversation, but I'm going Orton wins the match officially, but Cena's walking out, which I believe means that for 4 out of the 5 matches, it's a whitewash. We're all in agreement.
The one thing I will add, this is something I will touch on during the live on Saturday night, because I've got countless theories about how this is going to pan out. Randy Orton wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. That's that's where this is going for me. As Cena is going to pin him like a heel. Cena is going to win heel. Randy gets his redemption. He gets the briefcase, and he's going to basically chase John. And it's going to be the feud. It's going to go from Backlash to when John drops the title. But it won't just be they two. He'll get his matches with Punk. He'll get his matches with whoever else. That's where it's going for me, as Randy wins the Money in the Bank.
This podcast, The Golden Shovel, is all about breaking down the stories, breaking down the booking, looking at fantasy booking, trying to figure out the confusing elements of what's happening every week in the WWE. We have talked at length the last few weeks about additional episodes in fantasy booking. We want to fantasy book SummerSlam. We want to fantasy book the WrestleMania card for next year, and we also want to have a look ahead at things like the Hall of Fame, because you'd imagine that John Cena will headline, but
Yeah.
we've got some interesting picks there as well. We also would love to fantasy book Cena's remaining 25 dates.
Yeah.
With a little bit of realism and a little bit of fantasy. I've obviously previously discussed, would the Money in the Bank contract force an extra date if he leaves with the title? Because that's supersede in kayfabe wrestling space. Who knows? So
Kayfabe's still alive? Does it still exist?
it depends what day of the week it is.
I know.
It's Rusev Day.
So it is Rusev Day. So with that being said, time to bring this first mid-run special edition podcast, Backlash Predictions, to an end. The show will be live tomorrow night. We will be with you guys on TikTok, YouTube, and if we can figure out what's going on with Twitch, we'll try that as well. But the Twitch channel is not quite ready yet. Leave a like, please leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, get involved in the conversation. We have set up a Discord, which we hope long term we'll get some of you guys involved in. If you want to come in and be part of the live during the weekend, let us know, and we'll see if we can sort that out. But as we prepare for this weekend, we'll bring this episode to a close. So signing out from Daz, Roscoe,
Orton's going over. You heard it here first.
and from myself, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you all again for the live on Saturday night and our regularly scheduled podcast on Wednesday evening. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.